Old guns. We all love old guns. What's the best old gun out there? You just started off your journey. First of all, I want to thank you guys for joining me, and I want to thank you guys for 100 subscribers. When I started this off, it was just about being new to this and sharing my perspective with you guys and sharing some opinions. But I really want you guys to know that I appreciate you guys following me and asking questions about this hobby. When I started this whole thing with firearms, the main point was point of interest. First of all, I have a little bit of a background in engineering, and for me, a big part of this journey was to find out what's so interesting about them. Guns, firearms are a big part of the cultural discussion, whether you're in Canada or the United States. And I started off this journey like a lot of you guys, browsing through forums and trying to understand what makes one firearm different from another. Where I started from was, beyond basic. I started off not even knowing the difference between a shotgun and a rifle. So I appreciate the education of what's out there. But let's come back to the subject of the day. Old firearms. Which one's the best? You obviously at some point are going to look at some Mil-Surp stuff. You're going to look at something that's out there that can get you into that World War II vibe. You can get an M1, you can get all sorts of interesting stuff that's out there that came out during that part of the 20th century. But is there one out there that really is unique, that offers a combination of quality, a combination of ideals that really make it fun while still being relatively accurate and really gives you something good? I'm going to tell you about what I looked at, my apologies, and I'm going to tell you about the choice I made. The first thing that came to mind when I started this journey, and when you're going to start your journey with old firearms, especially those that come from the 20th century and the 1940s and especially if you're looking at World War II firearms, the first thing you're going to find out is that there's a lot of stuff out there, obviously. Whether you're looking at the Allies or the Axis side, there is a lot of interesting stuff that's actually pretty unique because you can categorize them in three different places. You can start with bolt-action rifles, which were still very relevant all the way till the end of the war. You're going to find semi-automatic stuff that was starting to become more and more popular, and automatic rifles, which were also available in World War I, whether it's their submachine guns or stuff like the Sturmgewehr. Here in Canada, the only way you can get something like that is in a 22LR, and they're reproductions. They're not vintage rifles. The most you can get is those classic bolt action and some of the semi-auto stuff. But I made a choice when I chose mine, and I wanted something in bolt action. But here's the thing. Especially when you look at interesting weapons on the Axis side, you're going to find out, and even on some Allied side, you're going to find out very quickly that as the war got on and as different sides were winning or losing, the quality of the weapons, the sacrifices they had to make to really get these guns out there is quite evident. Like you're going to look at a German bolt-action rifle. There, when you're looking at what they were putting out in the end of the 30s, late 30s, and what they were putting out at the end of the war, you can see, well, some would argue that there's no drop-off in quality, but I think that as you look at them, you can quickly see that there is a drop-off in quality because, especially on the Axis side, there was less and less stuff available for them to really make quality weapons for their soldiers. They had less resources. They had to prioritize resources. So on my side, what I started to look at was one of the nations that had to make an armory, that were making weapons, nations that were making weapons, but nations that didn't have to make those sacrifices. So as the war went on, you saw a less drastic drop in quality. So I'm going to talk about the choice I made. You're going to see it's a little bit strange how I sort of set it up, but I want to explain to you why I made that choice. And what I decided when I made my choice, when I bought mine because it became available at the shop. I had done a lot of research on it at the time individually, so I had a good idea what I was getting into. But I'm going to show you what I chose, and what I chose was what's called a Swedish Mauser. Let's have a look at it. Now, obviously, you're going to tell me that there's no way that the Swedish military had a Vector Crossfire Scout scope on theirs, but I'm gonna let you look at this thing. It's an M38 Swedish Mauser. And I'm going to talk a little about it for you to understand a little bit of what this thing is and what it represents and why I chose it. So the first reason why I chose it, aside from the fact that it has an interesting caliber, 6.5 by 55, it is an interesting caliber. It's a very particular caliber because it's low recoil. It's not a particularly small bullet. And cartridge, but overall, when you look at the cartridge itself, it's actually very pleasant to shoot, and that was a big part of it for me, was to find something that was pleasant to shoot, and this thing definitely is. There's another part of it which is interesting, and why I encourage you to look at Swedish Mausers. Action is a bolt action. It's based on a Mauser profile, which I think was very common in 1896. It does have a few things which other bolt actions don't need. It can be fed, by the way, with a stripper clip. But the first thing I liked about it was that it actually comes with its own quality control, because the Swedish armories back then, and I think it was Husqvarna, so if you have a Husqvarna lawnmower, well, you know, Husqvarna, like Mercedes, like a lot of these suppliers back then, we're also making weaponry. And you see there's a little golden plate here with numbers. So what do these numbers mean? Why is the Swedish Mauser so interesting in that sense? Is that it came with its own quality control. Well, instead of a stamp in this case, it's a little metal plate here. And the metal plate here gives you an idea of actually the condition of the bore. So 1, 2, 3 for the condition of the bore, the caliber that it sustains, and this was done at the armories for people to know exactly what they were getting into. Now you see there's, I'm going to show you a little bit of this. There's no butt pad on it, but I didn't install this Scout scope on it. And by the way, just to reiterate what I reiterate in other videos, obviously these things have been cleared. I checked to make sure that, even though I know that it was unloaded, to make sure that there's nothing in the barrel, that everything is good. But this is actually a pretty impeccable rifle for what it does. It's clean, it shoots easy, and the thing I like the most about it, because a lot of the rifles that I have, a lot of the stuff that I have out there actually has these triggers that are just click and you shoot. But this one has a bit of creep on it. You know, it's a little bit of creep, then you feel the point where it locks up a bit. The lightest trigger, very nice, very easy to live with, impeccable to maintain, very easy. Well, you know, at this point, you know, when you're looking at bolt action rifles, they're very easy to maintain anyways. There's not a lot of headaches that you have with these things anyways when it comes to bolt action rifle. But when I had the choice and I had to make a decision, I know that something with a gas system in it. It's not. I didn't want something that required a lot of maintenance. And usually, when you're looking at these gas systems from World War II, there is a fair bit of maintenance that you want to make sure you take care of before you jump into it. But I encourage you. For me, the best one out there when it comes to accuracy, when it comes to overall form, Swedish Mauser, sexy rifle. I loved it. That's the choice I made for my Mil-Surp, for my it's the choice I made for that part of my little you know, collection that I have. Now this is the M38, so this is one. What they did was that these were a lot longer. Okay, so when the Swedish government and their military procurement 1896, and when these things came out, and I have to be careful because the action is dated then, I think, from 1896 from Mauser as well. You could correct me, and I do appreciate, I did some research on this, but if you know better than me, please do correct me. but it's very different from the action that you found that people like from which is the 98 one. So there's a few differences, but the earlier ones had a lot longer barrels. Like this would extend, this part here would extend a lot longer. These ones, or the World War II ones, are a fair bit shorter, and the bolt is bent. So if you're gonna find some earlier ones, the bolt is actually straight. This is actually a lot, I think they did it because it's a lot easier to carry, and I think that's a great part of it. It's not a heavy rifle. I mean, this is a big chunk of wood, and it's not heavy. It has the floor plate here if you need to clear out the ammo that's inside. I love floor plates. I think it's a great idea. I have a Remington 700 with a floor plate. Well, actually, that, you know, it also has a mag. I have one with a mag, but floor plates are fantastic, especially if you ever have issues with the ammo. But that's the great part about the caliber it shoots. 6.5 by 55 is still a very, very common caliber, very popular in Scandinavia, very easy to find. And it shoots a modern caliber, which is nice. I know 30-06 is still out there, that's an old caliber, but this is one, especially if you like with the popularity of 6.5, Creedmoor. Obviously there are different bullets, but as a way to get into 6.5 with that low recoil, and 6.5, I know a lot of people told me with a 6.5 Creedmoor, it will wear out the barrel faster than other calibers, but this is actually a very easy caliber to live with. 6.5 by 55. I know Tika still offers a lot of stuff in 6.5 by 55. I do encourage you to check these things out. If you can find one locally, if you can find one either on Broker or Gun Post, Swedish Mausers. And the reason why I installed the scope on it was because I was having so much pleasure shooting this thing with just the sights, and the sight system was actually pretty interesting on this thing that it came with. Over 100 yards, 200 yards. I haven't shot it yet further than that, but I want these scout scopes. By the way, if you don't know what a scout scope is, a scout scope actually allows you to have to hold your rifle a little bit further, and when you shoot, once again, I just want to make sure you guys know everything's safe, everything's good. And by the way, look at that safety here. The safety will lock the bolt on these, which is pretty good. So the safety will lock the bolt, and you have the different settings with the safety, but that let you do a little bit more stuff. But the scout scope itself is interesting because you can actually look from a little bit further. You don't have to keep your eye as close as on other rifles and other scopes that I have. I really enjoy this little thing. It was a cheap purchase. You know, scout scopes aren't an expensive thing usually in general. You can find them for pretty cheap. I know this Vector Crossfire was pretty cheap. I think it's in the 2 by 2 to 7 times 32. You know, it doesn't give you, it's not the kind of scope that's going to give you tons of range, but it'll do what it needs to do. It's going to give you that basic accuracy that you want. And this is an accurate rifle. That's the fun part about it. So once again, for me, the best World War II rifle, best quality, no drop off in quality. And what you want to do is to try to find one with this little plate that tells you, that has the number 2, which means that when the armory looked at the bore was in pretty good shape. So 1 and 2 is good. Even some 3s that you find out there are still in pretty good shape for the number that you're going to find on it. And there's a bunch of websites out there that will show you how to read that little plate. But that's basically it. You want to know in the 1, 2, 3 for the state of the barrel. And I have to say, it held. This one's from 1942. Held up beautifully, still shooting super accurate. I mean, it's not a 1 MOA rifle, of course, but it'll still bring you there. So best World War II rifle when it comes to bolt action for me. I know the British have a head start on what some people will say is one of the best rifle out there. Same thing with the Germans with the K98s and everything out there, but I like this thing. It's accurate, quality is consistent. And not a lot of these World War II things will tell you off the mark if they have a quality check or the quality of what you're getting. And I like this thing so much that I actually invested into the scope. The little kit to install the scope was super easy to find, extremely easy to install. Thank you for watching. please, if you do like these videos, again, thank you for 100 subscribers. Like and subscribe. I'll be posting more stuff, but I strongly encourage you guys to look at Swedish Mausers out there, especially M38s. You're gonna love what these things are and what they can do. And I encourage you to get one if you find one out there and have fun. This is a great caliber, by the way. Again, 6.5 by 55, damn interesting caliber. So low recoil, easy to shoot. Ammo's actually not that expensive and super easy to find. So go for it, enjoy it. And again, thanks for sticking to the channel. And I think we're at 120 or 130 subscribers right now. I really, really appreciate you guys being connected and giving me that feedback. I try to answer as much comments as I can. And but to come back to the rifle, World War II, there's a lot of stuff out there. If you want something that's relatively low maintenance, and it really is a beautiful looking rifle, you can't go wrong with the Swedish Mauser. So have yourself a good night. Thanks again, and God bless you guys out there.